In a solemn announcement that reverberated around the world, the Vatican confirmed that Pope Francis, the 266th pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church, passed away on the morning of April 21, 2025. At the age of 88, Pope Francis left behind a profound legacy of compassion, reform, and spiritual leadership that touched the lives of millions across the globe. His death occurred at 7:35 a.m. local time, within his residence at Casa Santa Marta, located in Vatican City. According to the Vatican, he passed peacefully following complications related to double pneumonia, an illness that had increasingly challenged his health over the past several months. The Pope's declining health had been a growing concern for the faithful and for church officials alike. In the weeks leading up to his death, he had been hospitalized multiple times due to breathing difficulties and lung inflammation, complications exacerbated by a long-standing condition stemming from the partial removal of one of his lungs as a young man. Despite his physical struggles, Pope Francis continued to fulfill his papal duties as much as possible. Just one day before his passing, on Easter Sunday, he made a final public appearance from the window of the Apostolic Palace, offering a brief blessing to the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square. Witnesses reported that he appeared frail but resolute, raising his hand slowly as he offered his final, Urbi et Orbi, benediction. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Vatican Camerlengo, officially announced the Pope's death in a brief and emotional statement, saying, "At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of the Father." His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and of his Church. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Pope Francis made history in March 2013 when he was elected as the first Jesuit pope, the first from the Americas, and the first non-European to lead the Church in over 1,200 years. His election came at a time of deep crisis within the Church, riddled with scandal, financial instability, and spiritual disillusionment among the laity. Pope Francis responded not with grandeur, but with humility. He refused the luxurious papal apartment, choosing instead to live in a modest suite at Casa Santa Marta. He drove a simple Ford Focus. He washed the feet of prisoners and Muslims. And he took the name Francis in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi, a symbol of simplicity and devotion to the poor. Over the next 12 years, Pope Francis would become known not just for symbolic gestures, but for bold reforms. He initiated sweeping changes in the Vatican Bank, overhauled the Church's response to sexual abuse, and expanded the Church's teachings on social justice, care for the environment, and economic inequality. Pope Francis was widely admired for his progressive stances, especially his commitment to interfaith dialogue, his compassion for migrants and refugees, and his efforts to address climate change. His 2015 encyclical Laudato Si was a landmark document that urged global cooperation to protect the environment. He was praised by world leaders, scientists, and even secular institutions for bringing moral weight to the climate crisis. However, not all reactions to his papacy were favorable. Within the Catholic Church, traditionalists often clashed with his vision. His openness to LGBTQ individuals, his calls for the Church to be less obsessed with culture war issues, and his willingness to entertain debates about married priests and women's roles in the Church sparked criticism and resistance. Yet through it all, Pope Francis maintained a focus on what he saw as the heart of the gospel: mercy, humility, and the unconditional love of God. The news of Pope Francis's death has triggered an outpouring of grief from around the world. Leaders of all faiths, from the Dalai Lama to the Archbishop of Canterbury to Muslim and Jewish figures, have shared their condolences and reflected on the Pope's commitment to peace and unity. In Rome, black drapes now hang from the balconies of St. Peter's Basilica. Bells toll softly across the Vatican. Tens of thousands have gathered in silent prayer in St. Peter's Square, lighting candles and offering tributes. A period of official mourning has begun within the Vatican, and arrangements for the funeral mass are underway. Following centuries-old tradition, the Camerlengo has begun the formal rituals, including the sealing of the papal apartments and the preparation for the next conclave. Pope Francis leaves behind a legacy that is both complex and deeply transformative. He was a pope who stepped away from the throne and walked among the people. A leader who preferred dialogue over condemnation. A man who embraced his humanity and never shied away from the burdens of his office. He will be remembered not only as a reformer of the Church, but as a pastor to the world, a man who consistently reminded us that, as he once said, the name of God is mercy. As the world mourns the passing of Pope Francis, the Church prepares for its next chapter. But the memory of this pontiff, who spoke with the voice of the poor, walked with the dignity of the humble, and carried the weight of the Church with gentleness, will echo for generations. Rest in peace, Pope Francis. May your spirit of mercy and justice continue to inspire a wounded world.